Jai Gurudev. Today we are diving deep into the profound wisdom of friendship, spirituality, and how these age old principles help us overcome challenges and reach our highest potential. We are joined by an art of living expert and an officer from the Vedic Dharma Sansthan to explore the significance of friendship in the lives of great souls like David and Jonathan, Arjuna and Krishna, and Rama and Sugriva. Can you begin by sharing how His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji views friendship, especially in the context of the Yes Plus program, where we are asked to make a new friend every day? Absolutely, in the manual, when you are asked to make a new friend every day, Gurudev always emphasizes that friendship is one of the highest forms of devotion. In the Yes Plus program, one of the key takeaways is that we should strive to make a new friend every day. Friendship is the spiritual, in the spiritual senses, not just about casual companionship, but about sharing and supporting each other in the journey toward the divine. Gurudev says that when you develop a deep bond with another, it is as if you are connecting with the divine itself. This wisdom is reflected in ancient stories like Arjuna and Krishna, Rama and Sugriva, and of course David and Jonathan. These friendships became the foundation of their victories, not because of material power, but because of the strength of the heart, love, and trust. That's beautiful. Let's talk about David and Jonathan specifically. Jonathan, despite being the son of King Saul, supported David even though he knew David was chosen by God to be the next king. How did this friendship help David overcome his challenges? Jonathan's friendship with David was indeed a divine gift. When God wanted David to rise to kingship, he didn't send him wealth, armies, or fame. He sent Jonathan, an unwavering friend who helped David during his darkest times. Jonathan's loyalty and love for David were rooted in a higher spiritual connection, a bond of the soul that went beyond worldly ties. Jonathan protected David when Saul sought to kill him, shared knowledge, and gave David the strength to carry on. In many ways, Jonathan was like a spiritual ally, much like how Arjuna had Krishna by his side. These friendships are not based on gaining something material, they are based on dharma or righteousness and an understanding of one's higher purpose. Could you elaborate on how this friendship mirrors the spiritual practices taught in Art of Living, such as Sudarshan Kriya, meditation, and Seva? And how do these practices become like friends on the spiritual path, just as Jonathan was a friend to David? Absolutely, just like Jonathan guided and supported David, these practices serve as spiritual allies, strengthening and nurturing the soul on its journey. When we practice Sudarshan Kriya or meditation, we are creating space within ourselves where the divine can communicate and guide us. This internal clarity helps us overcome life's obstacles, much like how Jonathan gave David clarity and protection. Similarly, seva or selfless service connects us to others in a way that fosters friendships and unity. It removes the barriers between people and helps us see the divine in everyone's satsang or spiritual gatherings too, strengthens our connection with others and builds a sense of community, much like the bond between David and Jonathan. When we are engaged in such practices, we experience the divine not as an abstract entity, but as a living, breathing relationship like the bond between Krishna and Arjuna. From the Vedic perspective, these practices you mentioned, Upanayanam, Sandhya Vandanam, Agni Karyam, Gayatri Japa, and even the various homas and pujas serve as tools that purify the soul and create a direct connection with the divine. In essence, these rituals are like spiritual friends who occupy us and accompany us on the path of righteousness. They guide and protect the soul, much like how Jonathan protected David. Take the example of Sandhya Vandanam or the Gayatri Japa. They are practices that align us with the rhythms of nature and the cosmos. The prayers and mantras are like the voice of the divine guiding us, much like Jonathan's wisdom and support for David. So, would it be correct to say that these spiritual practices, much like Jonathan, serve as guides and protectors for us, helping us rise to our highest potential even when we lack worldly power, fame, or money? Absolutely. David's story teaches us that the support we need often comes in the forms we might not immediately recognize. The practices of sadhana, pujas, and yagyas are like those unseen forces that help us fulfill our destiny. When performed with sincerity and devotion, they act as friends to the soul, clearing the obstacles in our path and empowering us from within. For example, the daily recitation of the Gayatri Mantra invokes the power of divine wisdom. It's not just a ritual but a living relationship with the divine, akin to how Jonathan's friendship helped David find the strength to navigate his challenges. The various homas and sevas and pujas we conduct at the Vedic Dham Sansthan are not merely for personal gain but for the upliftment of all beings, fostering spiritual friendships that bind us to the divine and to each other. Yes, and this is where Gurudev's teachings become so profound. He teaches us that these practices are not just for individual benefit but are ways to strengthen our relationships with the world around us, whether it's through Padma Sadhana, Trikal Sandhya, or even simple daily meditation. Each practice deepens our bond with the divine and with the people we meet. We become like David, not reliant or on external power, but on the inner strength cultivated through these sacred friendships and practices. It is fascinating to think about how these practices are like spiritual tools that play the role of Jonathan for our soul. How do you think this wisdom helps people in today's world where many people feel isolated despite having material wealth? The wisdom of spiritual friendship, whether through people or practices, teaches us that true strength lies within in today's fast paced world where we often feel disconnected or overwhelmed. These ancient teachings remind us that we are never alone, just as Jonathan's friendship became the cornerstone of David's kingship. Our spiritual practices become the foundation for our own inner mastery. Through them, we connect with something greater than ourselves, and this connection carries us through life's toughest moments. Gurudev often says that the greatest wealth we can have is the wealth of our inner world. When we meditate, when we serve others, when we sit in satsang, we are strengthening our connection to the divine, much like the bond between David and Jonathan or Arjuna and Krishna. This connection is what makes us victorious, regardless of external circumstances. Victory is not in material power or fame, but in the realization of our true self and our connection with the divine. Thank you both for sharing such deep wisdom. It's incredible to see how ancient friendships and spiritual practices serve as timeless guides for us all. Jai Gurudeva, and thank you for the beautiful insights. It's clear that the concept of friendship, whether through divine relationships like those of David and Jonathan or spiritual practices, is a key to success in life. Could you share more about how we can practically cultivate this sense of friendship with the divine in our day to day lives, especially for people who may be new to spiritual practices? Yes, practical application is essential. Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji often emphasizes that spirituality should be integrated into everyday life. One of the simplest ways to begin cultivating friendship with is by doing meditation, which Gurudev often refers to as a meeting with your best friend, yourself, and the divine within. When you meditate regularly, even for just 10 to 20 minutes a day, you begin to experience a deep sense of inner calm and connection over time. This practice strengthens your sense of divine friendship. It's much like how David found strength and clarity through his bond with Jonathan. Through meditation, we find that same clarity within ourselves. Sudarshan Kriya, a cornerstone practice in the art of living, is another powerful way to foster this divine friendship. It works on the breath to cleanse the body and mind of stress and negativity. As we release these layers of tension, we create space for the divine to enter into our consciousness. It's like clearing a path for your soul to meet its greatest ally, just as Jonathan supported David by removing obstacles from his path. That's very practical and relatable. Could you also speak about the role of seva or selfless service in satsang or spiritual gatherings in this process of cultivating divine friendship and how they contribute to our inner growth? Seva is perhaps one of the most direct ways to feel the divine in action. When you engage in seva, you are serving others without any expectation in return. It's an act of love where the ego steps aside and you experience oneness with others. In that oneness, you begin to see the divine in everyone you meet, just like Jonathan put David's well being above his own. In Seva, we put the needs of others above our own, and in doing so, we experience divine grace. Satsang is another essential practice for nurturing divine friendship. It is said that when you come together with others to chant, sing, and share wisdom, the collective energy amplifies. This gathering of like minded souls creates a powerful field where the divine can be felt more intensely, much like how the bond between David and Jonathan was strengthened through mutual trust and understanding. Satsang strengthens our connection with the divine, and with others, you feel supported, uplifted, and in tune with the higher purpose of life. From the Vedic perspective, there is also a deep connection between these practices and the rituals of upasana or fasting and yagyas. For instance, when we perform Agni Karyam or fire rituals or Gayatri Japa, we are invoking the divine in its purest forms, or even while doing Sanyam courses or programs or sadhana. These practices are not just symbolic but are actual mechanisms through which we channel divine energies into our lives. They create a bridge between the mundane and the sacred, much like how Jonathan acted as a bridge between David and his eventual destiny as king. It seems like these rituals, combined with practices like meditation and seva, are tools that help us develop our inner strength, much like Jonathan was a support to David. Could you expand on how these practices actually help us overcome our challenges in real life? These practices are more than just spiritual exercises, they have tangible benefits for our mind, body, and soul. When you perform Sandhya Vandanam or recite the Gayatri Mantra, you are aligning yourself with cosmic rhythms. This brings mental clarity, emotional stability, and a sense of purpose in modern terms. You could say these practices help us develop resilience, just as Jonathan gave David the courage and guidance to face his challenges. These spiritual tools provide us with inner fortitude. They purify the mind, helping us navigate life's obstacles with grace. For example, during homas or fire rituals or pujas, we offer our negative emotions and desires into the fire, symbolically purifying ourselves. This process helps us release attachments and fear, allowing us to face life's challenges with renewed strength and focus. Exactly, Gurudev teaches that when we regularly engage in practices like Padma Sadhana, Sudarshan Kriya, or Trikal Sandhya, we develop a calm, centered mind. This clarity of mind is crucial when we face difficulties. In the story of David, it wasn't his physical strength or wealth that led him to victory, but his clear mind, his devotion, and his unwavering trust in the divine, all of which were supported by his friendship with Jonathan. Similarly, in modern life, we may not face kings and battles, but we face challenges in relationships, careers, and personal growth. These spiritual practices act like the friendship of Jonathan in our lives, guiding us, supporting us, and giving us that strength to continue moving forward, even when external circumstances seem difficult. It is fascinating to see how these ancient friendships and spiritual tools continue to be relevant today. Before we conclude, could you share any last thoughts on how we can practically incorporate these practices into our daily lives, especially for those who may feel disconnected or overwhelmed by the modern world? The first step is to start small. Begin with a simple meditation practice or by attending a satsang in our community. If possible, learn Sudarshan Kriya to the art of living. As it's a powerful way to clear the mind and bring balance to your emotions. Over time, you will find that these practices become as essential to your well being as food and water. For those drawn to the Vedic traditions, incorporating rituals like Sandhya Vandanam, Gayatri Japa, or performing a small daily homa can be transformative. These rituals don't require much time but are immensely powerful in grounding us and invoking divine protection and guidance. Just as Jonathan's strength was a constant presence in David's life, these practices become like constant spiritual companions guiding us toward our highest potential. And remember, spirituality is not just about doing practices, it's about cultivating a mindset of friendship with the divine. When you see every challenge as an opportunity to deepen that relationship, you naturally start to feel supported no matter the circumstances. As Gurudev often says, the divine is your best friend, always available, always loving. With this mindset, you will experience that you are never truly alone. Thank you both for these profound insights. It's clear that through spiritual practices, we can all cultivate that deep sense of divine friendship that guided great souls like David, Arjuna, and Sugriva in the form of Jonathan, Krishna, and Rama. And in doing so, we too can overcome life's challenges and reach to our highest potential. Jagadev.